All right, if you're not familiar with two-voice poetry, this is a type of poem that has two different parts that each speak as if they are a different person or object. So these parts may have different opinions or thoughts, and they can each talk to each other in the poem. So this type of poetry gives the writer or the writers the chance to show different perspectives all in one poem. So to do this in your classroom, students will pair up to create a single poem together. Their poem, though, must have two unique voices, yet also come together as one. Before we dive in, though, I want to share some of the benefits of students participating in and creating and performing two-voice poetry. So first of all, writing and performing something creative together really fosters teamwork and communication. It provides students a platform to share their ideas and perspectives, as well as learn from each other. Two-voice poetry also allows for a lot of flexibility in terms of voice, tone, subject matter, giving students a wide range of creative options. Working together on these poems encourages a supportive environment for students to experiment with their writing and also to receive constructive feedback from their peers. And last but not least, and certainly very important, is that writing and performing together can help students build their confidence in their writing as well as in their speaking skills, because in this particular case, they are not doing it alone. Okay, so to see this in action, I think it might be easier for you to visualize if you can see and hear an example. But before we dive into this, make sure that you click subscribe where you're watching this video for more like this one. So the two-voice poem that I'm going to share was written by our awesome curriculum creator here at EB for our unit for A Long Walk to Water. And this is where students write two-voice poetry from the perspectives of Salva and Naya. And this is a sample that we give to students so that they have a model for how this type of poem will work, and you can use this one with your students as well. It's called First Day of School, and you will hear my voice reading it, but the screen will show you that it's really two different voices and two different perspectives. All right, here we go. I stand before the class, a smile glued to my face. I walk into the room, a rabbit among wolves. My thoughts are racing. My stomach is turning. What is everyone thinking? Will these students like my class? Are these kids going to care? Who should I sit by? Will this class be boring? I remind myself. I tell myself. The first day is always the hardest. With so many unknowns, with so much to figure out, I wonder what I'll learn this year. All right, now that you have an example, let's walk through how you can set up two-voice poetry in your own classroom. So you want to follow these steps to have students create their own poems. So first things first is choose two people or objects that are connected. Number 2, brainstorm similarities and differences that they may have. 3, divide a piece of paper into 3 different columns. In the first column, you'll have the first person or object. In the middle is both. And in the third column is the second person or object. Number 4, write the poem by either writing one point of view first or alternating between statements for both speakers. And number 5, this poem is meant to be read by two voices. Most of the time, only one voice should be speaking at a time, but at key points, both voices should speak as one. And number 6, when you read it aloud, be mindful of pace, pitch, volume, and diction. So if you want your students to try two-voice poetry, it can be less intimidating if they are taking on the voices of book characters or movie characters or even imaginary relationships like a grandma and a grandchild or a principal and a student, a coach and a player, or two best friends, etc. And of course, students can write about themselves if they wish, but for that first attempt, it might be helpful to make some of those other examples for them, include those for them. Here are some other ideas of how you can use two-voice poetry in your classroom. In literature, it could be between a protagonist and an antagonist. In history, it could be a poem between two historical people with different views on the same event, or two people from different time periods like Bessie Coleman and Sally Ride. In science, students could write a poem about two planets, or a poem between a tornado and a hurricane. In art, it could be a poem between two impressionist artists. In math, it could be a poem about two quadrilaterals. Really, the possibilities are endless, and students really can and should write more than one poem like this throughout the year, and that gives them just the opportunity to really grow as writers. So if you choose to use this particular activity with your students, definitely let us know where you're watching this video. We'd love to hear from you. And for more videos like this one, be sure to click subscribe where you're watching this video.